Hi, this week we've been talking about polymeters and interference of periodicity when, say, for instance, a phrase of 3 and a phrase of 4 combine to make a longer phrase of 12. Well, it's possible to do it any number of ways, but I've got 6 examples of, say, a piano performance where the two hands have simple phrases of differing lengths that create a resultant melody or rhythm. It's a fascinating way to play. It's something I'm very interested in. Let's take a look at them now. Well, my first example is a little etude that I wrote for myself, and it's perhaps the most developed of the ideas. And I actually just yesterday dropped a video on how to play it. You might be interested in checking that out. But let's look at it on the screen. So the first phrase in the right hand, only 3 notes, and that's never going to change. The left hand has 2. That's a D up to an E. And now the hands drum. They alternate. And you can hear the resultant melody very easily. As the left hand shifts up to F, the resultant melody changes. And then back again to where we started. What makes this tick? Well, for me, interference of periodicity phrases and resultant melodies have to take into consideration a scale set. So in the case of this piece, we've got 3 notes in one hand and 2 notes in the other, and altogether D minor add 2 or D minor 9. It's like a stack of thirds like that. It's 5 different notes from the D minor Aeolian scale. This is almost what I call modal saturation, where we get to hear how all these pitches interact with each other. And this piece really never steps outside that one system, and I think that's part of what makes it beautiful and easy to listen to and kind of fun to play. Also, 3 and 2 is a pretty easy to manage polymeter, especially with just simple straight 8th patterns. Now, the only thing that's weird about it is alternating hands, so you have to go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Right. It's not, those are the notes at the same time, and you get a different effect that way. You get strong simultaneous dissonances, which really sound different. Not bad, but different. Let's go on to the next example. Well, before we go on, if this is the second or third video of mine you've seen and you're getting something out of the channel and you're not subscribed, subscribe now. Like this video, leave a comment. It helps the life of the channel, and it helps us build a community of musicians, of producers, composers, pianists, maybe songwriters, guitarists, who are interested in using music theory. This is a kind of a music theory, using music theory to their own ends, not academically, but rather, what can I do right now to give me interesting results? What do I know about myself and my own musical interests that I can formalize into a concept that will help me move forward? My teacher, Dr. Roland Wiggins, always said you must become your own theorist, and I've taken that to heart, and I hope you will as well. This is one of my ideas. What are yours? I'm interested to know. Well, let's go on. Okay, in this next example, we've got, I guess we'd have to say, a easy peasy arpeggio, and it goes up 3 and down 3 and then repeats. And then the right hand, again tucking into that, has another easy arpeggio. It's an F arpeggio, and it goes up 2 and down 2. You could call that 4 and 6, sort of, right, because of the way it works. You can see them here. There's the first phrase, the sort of G arpeggio, and the second phrase, the F arpeggio. They're laid into each other. You could think of this as being in C major, right? But we're not going to stay there. We're going to shift things. Maybe to C minor. We say that to ourselves. We've made a couple of notes flat and then back. This is a modal exchange. And the saturated sound of that modal exchange is really satisfying. And of course, I'll say this, as a pianist, you've got to plan ahead for these kinds of things. There's one hand, here's the other. And of course, what I shifted to was an E flat major sound and an A flat major sound. Now, it's not terribly hard to just kind of plan that ahead of time and then turn it into the pattern. It does take a little bit of practice, but it's very interesting. And then we also had the D flat sound. And this gives us a sense that the whole world just shifted, but since individual voices within the pattern move by only a step, sometimes just a half step, the overall sense is of it being sort of static and of weaving, like rain or some sort of natural process. And that's what appeals to me about interference of periodicity and polymeters using these kinds of phrases. We have something that feels like an organic, natural process, giving us a result. Let's go on. This one was kind of fun for me because it really just feels like a six, almost like a little waltz. You can see the pattern. Boom, chuck, chuck. And then the right hand is going to do a kind of a fast 4 within that. And again, we're going to have everything happen at the same time. This is a beautiful backing texture. And then again, a modal shift. And back to where we began. And I have to say, I really like chromatic mediant modulations when I'm doing stuff like that. The chromatic mediant modulations tend to work a little bit better. You can practice it at home just shifting 1 or 2 pitches, that is to say, going around the circle of fifths, perhaps saying, oh, here's my pattern in G. If I wanted to go to D, I would have to take the C and it would become C sharp, so it's a whole different kind of thing when you just change 1 note. If you change 3 notes or 2 notes because of a modal sort of change to a mediant, you get a more sort of rotated and interesting vibe. Another way to describe it. Let's go on to the next example. I'm going to use this trick again. Well, borrowing a page from the Philip Glass Prelude to Glassworks, I'm now going to give you a triplet with 2 notes in the right hand against 3 notes in the left, and it's going to be 2 against 3, plus a slight phrase change in one of the hands to give us a polymeter. So it's a polymeter and a polyrhythm, and the net result is pretty interesting. So the left hand has this sort of simple minor 6 or flat 6 sound, and that's going to be the triplet, and you can hear the 2 against 3. The left hand is the 2, though it has 3 notes. The right hand is the triplet, though it has 2 notes. Again, root motion by thirds, scale-wise. The A minor sound, the C minor sound, kind of dark, but really darkly beautiful. You could practice this at home. If you can do a 2 against 3 rhythm, let's say like this and this, you can do and then here's my triplet. You hear it? And the left hand 2 against that. going to do 3 notes in the left hand. This is essentially what I did before. It's an interesting approach to sort of building up longer phrases because it's built up out of shorter ones. I once heard the great ambient and jazz trumpet player John Hassel say he was trying to make a picture of the Taj Mahal made up of 1,000,000 tiny portraits of the Mona Lisa. Or maybe it was the other way around. In any case, the level of granular detail in precision and expression gives you what's really interesting about this music. Let's go on to the next example. Well, this one feels a little aggressive to me, and I think part of it is you've got this fast odd meter in the right hand, a 5, and then later on a 7, and then a mix of 5s and 7s, you know. So, which actually weirdly gives you 12, but in any case, the left hand has this steady 2, like so, and that's just a simple E-flat triad, and then that 5. And you can hear how it turns around against itself, just inverting the phrase, and then taking it down. Again, just an inversion of the phrase. This one's fun fast. Now we're in 7. 7 now. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm mixing it up. Which begins to sound sort of steady until we undermine that. Super fun. That's kind of almost funky. Like I use that approach a lot when I'm creating angular phrases, soloing over simple, steady rhythms. As long as everybody keeps their head, you'll wind up in the right place at the end of the phrase. Well, we've come to the end, and I'm going to give you another polyrhythm, this time 3 against 4, and I love this sort of blocky 3 against 4 polyrhythm sound. I'm going to be varying notes in the bass of the left hand, and as I do, of course, it creates a little melodic phrase, and then I'll start varying notes in the bottom of the right hand as well to create an even longer phrase. And it winds up being pretty saturated just because of the way it works. So the right hand has like a G minor chord, and the left hand has a version of the C minor chord, and the bass moves. So here's the right, simple 3, and here's the left with a little motion in the bass. And then together, a 3 over 4. Modal modulation from C minor to C major. All of these patterns are the sort of simplest expression of the idea of polymeters. I think it's pretty difficult for a pianist to play, say, complex isorhythms, repeated complex rhythms in 2 hands in 2 different meters. I can do it when I'm reading it, but it's hard for me to sort of improvise and make it up on the spot and keep it steady. I've repeatedly tried to do this and even tried to teach myself how to do it, and I continually fail. My brain doesn't seem quite to be able to accomplish that yet, although it is a goal. However, simple things like this, where you have simple regular pulses or lengths of phrases that are essentially arpeggios or simple quarter note or eighth note phrases that are of differing lengths, It turns out I can do that with two hands, and you can also do it on guitar. Say a thumb handling two strings, bass strings, and then the other three fingers, three other strings. Two against three is very easy. The thumb can also play slightly more complicated rhythms, and you can get a polyrhythm as you finger pick. Of course, it's easily possible when you're orchestrating or writing for a band if you have two players, and delightful, a very interesting way to work. I hope looking at this has been useful. Like and subscribe, ding the bell to be notified when I do my videos, and I will see you next time.